The fog clears, a battlefield at dusk. Smoke drifts across the horizon, mingling with the soft glow of a setting sun. A young warrior, his armor dented, breathing shallow as he clutches his side. His vision blurs, muffled sounds of combat fading into silence. A single exhalation, and the finality of it all. A soft, ethereal glow emerges from his chest, above the breastplate emblazoned with a flaming fist. His spirit, shimmering and translucent, rises from his body, gazing down at the lifeless form left behind. The world dissolves into darkness and naught but a swirling vortex of grey mist remains. Every mortal knows the inevitability of death. For some, it comes suddenly, without warning. For others, it's a slow fade, a quiet release from pain. For the devout, the afterlife is a promise, a realm shaped by their deeds, ideals, and deity they served in life. For the faithless and the heretical, death may hold the promise of finality, suffering, or endless apathy. And so begins the journey every soul must take, a journey into the unknown, the mortal condition. Elminster, year of 3 ships sailing, 1392 DR, spoken from the sage of Shadow Dale. The young warrior stands in an endless grey expanse, the ground beneath, solid but featureless. It stretches out in all directions under a sky of swirling clouds. Others, perhaps, drift aimlessly nearby, their forms faint and indistinct. It is often the way of those with mana to brush past others, but his hands pass straight through the petitioners beside. Before these souls stands a crystal spire, a bustling metropolis, though devoid of any colour, meaningful shape or light. Fiendish malefactors petition for the souls as the herd of souls finds its way toward the central court. A wall composed of seemingly rotting creatures of all types poses a malign defense to intruders of this city. Ahead is an impossibly large cloaked figure, an upright skeletal arm holding a golden set of scales. When mortals die, their souls are drawn to the fugue plane. This plane found within the astral sea is mostly grey, bland and nondescript, with no notable topographical features. Spirits of the dead gather here, often unaware they have died. For some, the fugue plane is a realm of emptiness, a void where time and space lose meaning. Days, weeks, even years might pass without notice, but not all spirits remain here for long. From time to time, powerful entities send representatives, usually outsiders of differing cosmic alignment. The purpose of these representatives is to gather the souls of their own worshippers or those of deeds within appropriate cosmic alignment. A worshipper's soul automatically recognizes an agent of its own deity within Kelemvor's court and cannot leave with an agent of any other deity. Souls that find their way to other planes are known as petitioners and will often incorporate the essence of their final resting place into their very soul. The shared realm of Kelemvor, Lord of the Dead and Jurgle, Scribe of the Doomed, comprises a portion of the featureless fugue plane. Kelemvor, Lord of the Dead and Judge of the Damned, is neither malign nor secretive. His promise is only that the dead shall be judged in an even and fair manner. He is kind, forthright and earnest, though occasionally stern. He was once a mortal who knew Cyric, Prince of Lies, the dark and black sun and god of murder, successor to Baal. He inherited his portfolio from Cyric after an error made by that god. Cyric hates Kelemvor and strives to regain what he lost, and Kelemvor in return fights Cyric. This realm, called the Crystal Spire, stands in the center of the region known as the City of Judgement. The city itself is a grey, bland, tightly packed metropolis populated by the judged dead. While some souls wander the fugue plane until their deity calls them, the faithless and the false are compelled to enter the city and be judged by Kelemvor. The faithless are those who denied any faith or gave only lip service to their gods, and the false, those who intentionally betrayed their faith. All of the faithless receive the same punishment. They form the living wall around the city of Judgement, the wall of the faithless. This wall is held together by a supernatural greenish mold. This mold prevents souls from escaping the wall and continues to break down until the soul and its consciousness are dissolved in absolution. The false are punished according to their crimes in life and serve their sentence in the city of Judgement for eternity. Nearly all beings within the city are members of the false. The rest are deceased followers of Jurgle and Kelemvor who enact the will of their deities among the doomed souls. Kelemvor holds agreement with a small enclave of Batezu, devils from the 9 hells. By agreement, they cannot harm or trick waiting souls, but can attempt to bargain with these souls or torment the citizens of the city. While the lawful Batezu have a contract with Kelemvor, the chaotic Tanari, demons, employ another method. They attempt to steal souls, and from time to time a demon lord will create a portal between the abyss and the fugue plane. Dozens of servitor demons spill through the opening, tearing and attacking the wall of the faithless. They steal away some of the doomed, gathering as many souls as they can before retreating. The minions of Kelemvor and Jurgle stand ever vigil against such attacks, as do the devils, eager to take on their cosmic foe. If these attacks are too brazen or destructive, occasionally the Lord of the Dead will increase his realm's defenses or make sorties into the abyss. There is no respite for the false unless Kelemvor wills it, and it is not his tenure to change his will. For those souls hoping to return via arcane magics, a soul cannot be raised or resurrected once judged without the intervention of a deity, who often must negotiate with the god of the dead. A celestial hand extends toward the warrior, hesitating for a second before grasping it. The gods do not abandon those who served them in life. A golden light pierces the grey, featureless expanse and travels into the light. For the faithful, salvation awaits. The grey void dissolves, replaced by a brilliant landscape. The base of an impossibly immense mountain, its peak radiant in golden light, a city of splendours above. The air is warm, filled with the faint sound of harmonious chanting. For those who lived with honour, compassion and faith, the upper planes offer eternal peace. These planes are also known as the celestial realms. They represent the ultimate destination for mortal souls who lived virtuous lives aligned with cosmic ideals of good, selflessness, and higher ideals. These planes are bastions of divine light, harmony, and mortal perfection. They often serve as the homes of benevolent deities, celestial beings, and cosmic embodiments of good. For the mortal soul, the upper planes are both a reward and a culmination of their life and cosmic journey. Upon death, those who adhered to these tenets, whether through devotion, noble deeds, or virtuosity, are guided to these planes by representatives of deities or the plane itself. These petitioners then may become part of the eternal fabric of the plane as exalted spirits or celestial agents. Mount Celestia, the home of lawful good souls, is a place of enlightenment. Here, spirits shed the burdens of mortal life, striving toward perfection under the watchful eyes of gods like Tiar and Ilmata. If one has personified personal achievement, social interdependence, and virtuosity, they may find themselves upon Bitopia, a land of rolling green hills and industrious souls working side by side, a plane where cooperation and hard work are celebrated. It is a realm of harmony, where even the simplest tasks bring joy and fulfillment. In Elysium, the spirits of selfless mortals find rest. The very air carries a sense of joy and contentment, and the warrior feels a deep sense of belonging. It is a land full of verdant fields, sparkling rivers and oceans, a land so pleasant that most never want to leave. The cosmic hand of time turns anew, and we see the warrior walk through a portal from the fugue plane. A single step through the shimmering portal, the horizon stretches infinitely, showing prairies, towering mountains and twisting shallow rivers. Settlements dot the landscape, but a small flex upon the grandeur of the landscape. The land becomes an infinitely large wheel, with the great spire rising from its center. The center, almost appearing as an axle, rises above the clouds themselves, ascending into the unreachable heavens. A great city floats at the top of the spire. Not all souls are bound by the extremes of good or evil. Multiple planes upon the axis of cosmic order to chaos exist, bound within an idea of neutrality. For those souls finding solace in true neutrality, ideals such as scholarship or nature may find themselves in the Outlands. The Outlands is a meeting place of opposed alignments. It is a fulcrum of the outer planes and the hub of the Great Wheel. It is unique among the outer planes as it borders all other outer planes. It is a common ground for extraplanar creatures, beings both infernal and celestial. Lore and chaos may be found here. The Outlands is an infinitely large wheel with a great spire rising from its center. This towering plinth is the heart of the outer planes, and the axle around which the great wheel spins. The city of doors, Sigil, floats at the top of this spire. The region itself is a broad region of varied terrain, prairies, mountains, and twisting rivers. Settlements dot the landscape. It is true neutrality. Souls that find themselves within the Outlands are those who align with neutral deities and are common at various portal towns, ancient libraries, crypts, or museums. These souls are usually wanderers seeking new lands, the deity of their faith, or shepherds happy with their lot in the afterlife. Portal towns dot the lands of rolling, grass-covered hills, deep canyons, thick forests, and sharp-toothed mountains. The day and night shimmer similar to the material plane. Mists and heavy fog are common. Sigil, the heart of the Outlands and center of the plains, it is known as the City of Doors. Portals leading throughout the cosmos lace every district of the city. It is a ring floating in space and is a trader's city to the planes. Portals to every outer plane, inner plane, and to the material plane exist, and petitioners who find themselves finding their afterlife in the Outlands and City of Doors will find endless adventure and opportunity here. It is a perfect afterlife for those who valued neutrality and understanding. Some souls find solace in the ultimate order and law of the multiverse. For those souls, the clockwork nirvana of Mechanus will be their final resting place. Mechanus is the plane of ultimate law. It is a plane where premeditated plans are born and is the gear works for the multiverse. It is the plane of perfectly regimented order. It consists of equal measure of light and dark, heat and cold. It is as predictable as the drip of a water clock and obvious as the trees in a field. On Mechanus, all law is reflected in a single infinite realm of clockwork gears, all interlocked and running to one measure. The calculations of these cogs is so vast that no one deity knows their purpose, save but that it is a function of law. Every kind of law can be found, from simple maxims to devilishly twisted rules of decorum. Here, no passion, illusion, or pain exists. All consciousness is subsumed into a whole, perfect order. Mechanus is a single infinite plane without defined layers. The void is filled with gargantuan interlocking wheels. The wheels or cogs are composed of stone, earth, and metal ores, as if carved from a deity. Those who find their way to the center of the plane find themselves at the heart of the Formian realm. Ant-like centaurs that seek to colonize all they see and incorporate all into a single hive. The fortress of disciplined enlightenment also finds its home on Mechanus. This structure sits on its own cog, and its spires and towers rise high into the void. A group of mortals from the material plane, known as the Fraternity of Order, are the masters of the fortress. The fraternity believe that if they can but tease forth every law of the cosmos, they will have the power of the gods. To that end, the fortress exists on the plane of ultimate law. Hordes of clerks, functionaries, legal aids, translators, mathematicians, philosophers, and bureaucrats staff the fortress. Its libraries extend through hundreds of rooms and hold tomes of legal volumes all over the Great Wheel. Petitioners of Mechanis are those who led a life devoted to singular order. They are alike in their frightening honesty, subversion of individuality, and are notoriously literal. They adopt a stylized version of the previously mortal bodies, all to conduct within their role to Mechanis. However, the most common inhabitant of Mechanis is not living creatures or petitioners at all. It is constructs. They are known as the Inevitables and exist to enforce the natural law of the multiverse. Neutrality does not equate to order. Reverence and living a life of chaotic events or chaos itself may land one in the ever-changing chaos of limbo. It is where everything and nothing is possible. It is where raw chaos seethes. It is where the elements come to die. Limbo is a plane of pure chaos. Untended sections appear as a roiling soup of the four basic elements and all their combinations. Balls of fire, pockets of air, chunks of earth, and waves of water battle for ascendance, until they in turn are overcome by yet another chaotic surge. However, landscapes similar to ones found on the material plane drift through the miasma. Bits of forest, meadow, ruined castles, and small islands float amongst the pure chaos of the plane. Limbo is home to both petitioners, the Githzerai, and the Sladi. In Limbo, souls who find their way to the plane take the form of unthinking, ghostly spheres of swirling chaos. These souls are those who revere chaos above all else. Some souls come to embody the plane, while others linger as insane spirits composed of shifting planar material. They snicker and laugh without regard to their surroundings, unaware of their chaotic, massless form. Sladi and Githzerai find their home on Limbo. Of the two, only the Sladi have been natives since time began. Frog-like beings, they evolved or were uplifted from the primordial soup of infinite potential. These belligerent batrachians are disorder-given flesh and born carriers of chaos. The Sladi control Limbo and chaos just like petitioners do. However, his control never falters and surrounds it tightly. To an onlooker, it may look like a Sladi lolls unhurt in a bath of fire or sheet of ice. The Githzerai arrived far later, seeing the entire plane as a challenge to their indomitable spirit. It is a harsh proving ground. The few who follow a monastic calling follow the dictates of law and are such particularly challenged here. These Githzerai build monasteries and fortresses that neutralize the chaos-aligned trait of Limbo. Most congregate in cities and do not follow monastic tradition. However, even city-born Githzerai look with favor on those who have strength of spirit to leave the cities behind and train in the free-floating monasteries adrift in chaos. Souls who come to rest in Limbo find no rest. But for those who proffer and revere chaos above all else, Limbo provides an endless bounty and suffuses these souls. The warrior finds himself once again at the City of Judgement. Before he can react, a set of fiery chains wrap around his form, his essence, pulled downwards for what seems like eternity, endless pain, burning and screaming. At the point at which it seems as if the soul will be torn asunder, the void gives way to a wasteland of charred, rubble-strewn plains. Legions of fiends march in formation and blood-red light suffuses the air. A river of red runs through a battlefield, beings of malign law oppose those of chaos in an endless war. The Blood War. Many lead lives of sin, of avarice, envy, lust, murder, of unbridled rage, of evil. For those souls, the lower planes are their final punishment, an unending torment. The 9 hells of Baator inflame the imaginations of travelers, the greed of treasure seekers, and the battle fury of all mortal creatures. It is the ultimate plane of law and evil, and the epitome of premeditated cruelty. The 9 hells compete with any other lower plane for their sheer diversity of vileness. The 9 hells is made up of 9 layers, each lower than the last. The first 8 are ruled by archdevils that answer to Asmodeus, the Archduke of Nessus, the 9th layer. Each layer has its own unique environment, but all are inhospitable and deadly. To reach the deepest layer, one must descend through all 8 above it, in order. The most expeditious means of doing so is the river Styx. The Styx plunges ever deeper as it flows from one layer to the next. The Styx flows through the 9 hells as well as into other lower planes, including the abyss. Only the most stalwart and courageous can withstand the torment and horror of that journey. The devils of the 9 hells all obey a higher law than themselves, but they chafe and rebel within their caste. A devil always has an agenda, a plan of attack, and a carefully conceived plot for retribution. At the very top of this hierarchy is the archdevil Asmodeus, who has yet to be bested. That is the law of the 9 hells. Evil, proud, ambitious souls, unconcerned with others and bereft of empathy, find their way to the 9. Most of these souls take the form of ghost-white shades, shells of their mortal forms. Devils cruelly mold and shape these souls into twisted, agonized forms of horror. Particularly vile souls, or those who have made an infernal bargain, become lemures. Lemures are despised by all other devils. They appear as revolting blobs of molten flesh, vaguely humanoid in nature. They are the lowest on the infernal hierarchy. They serve the most base duties in any group of devils and are the first line in any confrontation of the Blood War. The eternal conflict between the lawful devils and the chaotic demons. Devils of every sort delight in making complex deals with travelers and mortals on the material plane, with them often seeking the souls of mortals, but persuading them with initial concessions toward their ultimate goal. A devil will always seek ways to increase their own power and gain promotion into a higher form of devilhood. Devils require mortal souls, either through petitioners who find their way by virtue of their actions in mortal life or infernal deals. A contract with even the lowliest devil is enforced by Asmodeus's will. Any mortal creature that breaks such a contract instantly forfeits its soul. To own a soul gives one absolute control over it. Souls may find their eternal torment as a shade, lemur, or even as a soul coin, a large coin emblazoned with infernal script and infused with the soul of a creature. Only divine intervention can release a soul when a devil has claimed it. Devils require such souls to fuel the eternal conflict between the lawful but malevolent devils and the chaotic and malign demons. Without such souls, the endless hordes of demonkind would surely prevail. It is thus that the endless conflict between cosmic evil acts to shield all other planes. For if one were to prevail, all other planes would surely follow. The grey wastes of Hades is where evil springs eternal. A plane of endless apathy and despair, it is the great battlefield of the Blood War. Hades sits at the nadir of the lower planes, halfway between two races of fiends, each bent on the other's annihilation. Its grey plains are often darkened by vast armies of devils and demons battling equally vast armies. In the grey wastes, pure, undiluted evil acts as a powerful spiritual force that drags all creatures down. Here, even the consuming rage of the abyss and the devious plotting of the 9 hells are subjugated to hopelessness, apathy, and despair seep into everything at the pole of evil. Hades slowly kills one's dreams and desires, leaving one's soul a withered husk. Over time, one gives into total, unrelenting apathy. Souls of particularly selfish and malicious mortals often find themselves judge petitioners of Hades. These souls are destined to become larvae. Larvae are humanoid-sized worms with heads that resemble those of the soul in life. Larvae serve as a currency of the lower planes. They are particularly sought after by night hags, lich, demons, devils, and Yugoloths. They double as food or fuel for spellcasting. Those who find themselves lucky, if one can consider it such, are sometimes promoted to a lower form of fiend. The glooms of the grey wastes are dull and ashen. The earth is grey, as is the sky, and the souls of those who find their way here, grey still. Colour is foreign here, as if vision itself is distorted. It is more than the absence of colour. It is a spiritual greyness, reaching to the very soul of inhabitants, to the plane. It is the absence of all. Hades has 3 layers called glooms, uncaring malevolence that slowly crushes the spirit, permeates each gloom. The first gloom, Oinos, is a land of stunted trees, roving fiends, and virulent disease. It is ravaged by the blood war, and the battlefields despoil the already bleak terrain. Fiends of every variety roam here. There is naught but torment. The second gloom, Niflheim, is a layer of grey mists that constantly swirl and twist among sickly trees and ominous bluffs. Many predators such as dire wolves and trolls dwell in the mists, hidden by the unnatural fog. A single small town finds its home here, the death of innocence. Great wooden gates bar entry to the town, constructed of hewn pine from the surrounding forest. Surprisingly, neither the greys nor the entrapping trait of Hades penetrate the town. The final gloom, Pluton, is a layer of dying willows, shriveled olive trees, and night-black poplars. It is a realm no one wants to be, and none can recall why they came. It contains the underworld. This underworld is contained within walls of grey marble that stretches for hundreds of miles. A single double gate pierces the marble walls. Inside, blackened trees, stunted bushes, and wasted ground dominate the landscape. Larvae are everywhere, writhing in the dust, as are other souls on the verge of being sucked dry of all emotion by the spiritual decay of Hades. Within Hades, souls find no peace, only apathy, regret, and longing for an end that will never come. Souls of those in life who commit heinous acts without pity, remorse, or thought may find their end in the abyss. It is an infinity of clutching horror, the home to demons. It is where mortality crumbles and ethics perish. It is all that is ugly, all that is evil, and all that is chaotic. It is reflected in infinite variety through layers beyond count. Its virtually endless layers spiral downward into ever more atrocious forms. Some scribes note the number of layers at 666, though the true number may be far more. Each layer has its own unique, horrific environment. Other than an inhospitable nature, there is little that unifies the layer beyond chaos, evil and suffering, lakes of caustic acid, clouds of noxious fumes, caverns of razor-sharp spikes, and landscapes of magma are all possibilities. Parched salt deserts, subtly poisonous winds, and plains of biting insects are the more hospitable parts of this endless horror. Souls from the material plane who are not immediately absorbed into the horrific structure of the abyss become manes. These souls are often shunned or cursed by the gods, or otherwise trapped in the abyss. Manes have pale white skin, cruel claws, sharp teeth, and white eyes. Maggots visibly squirm through a mane's bloated flesh. Manes that do not find themselves destroyed and the soul absorbed into the plane may find themselves promoted to lesser demon types, though they regain no memory of their former lives. To be a soul in the abyss is endless suffering, without reprieve. The abyss is home to demons, creatures of pure malice and chaos, devoted to death and destruction. They possess no compassion, empathy, or mercy. They exist only to destroy. A demon of the abyss looks to mortals as food or things of amusement. Some see powerful mortals as potential recruits in the never-ending blood war, willing or not. Demon lords and evil deities inhabit the abyss, as well as demon princes. Most have an entire layer of the abyss they call home, shaped to their whims and desires. The abyss has more layers than any know, mortal or deity. The topmost layer of the abyss is the plane of infinite portals. It is a barren, dusty place without life or greenery, baking underneath a hell-red sun. These planes are broken by huge pits in the earth, great iron strongholds, and the river Styx. The pits of this top layer are portals to the infinite layers of the abyss. Great iron strongholds on the banks of the river Styx are staging grounds for demonic armies on their way to the endless blood war. The endless abyssal realms provide endless suffering, chaos, and malice for those souls who find their way here from the city of Judgement. Endless war, anguish, and torment await those souls who find their afterlife within. Things of amusement and to be discarded by their demon overlords, the abyss is malice and chaos incarnate. The warrior spirit stirs, the infernal chains shattered. A source of radiant energy suffuses its being. A faint voice calls his name, that of a friend. The weave surrounds its essence, pulling the soul back toward the mortal realm. The warrior steps into the light, gasping as he awakens in his mortal body. His companions cheer, but his eyes are haunted by what he has seen. Death is not always the end. For some, the call of resurrection offers a second chance. The act of resurrection requires the recall of one's soul from the city of Judgement, or through divine intervention for those souls who have found their way to their final resting place in the outer planes. It requires binding one's soul back to its body or a new vessel. The soul must be released by any deity holding it within the fugue plane or other outer planes, as well the free will of the soul to return. Resurrection typically requires divine intervention. It is a sacred act performed by clerics or paladins who draw upon divine power to perform the ritual. Resurrection often requires expensive components, can leave the soul physically weakened or emotionally scarred with the act of pulling one's essence from its final resting place. A soul, however, is not indestructible. Souls can be consumed, corrupted, or trapped by powerful entities such as devils, demons, or necromancers. If a soul is destroyed or bound, such as within a soul coin, or consumed by a demon lord, resurrection becomes almost impossible without the direct intervention of a higher deity. Souls who have found peace in the afterlife, such as those who find their way to planes such as Elysium, may resist resurrection. Souls are often called back soon after death. Those souls are called back from the fugue plane and the city of Judgement. Kelemvor is suspicious of resurrection, viewing death as a normal process within the span of the multiverse. Deities such as this will only allow such return with a greater purpose or through divine discussion with other deities. Cosmic balance requires a strict boundary between life and death. Resurrection can occur through arcane rather than divine magic. Some arcane practitioners, such as wizards or sorcerers, can utilize the weave at its highest echelon to bring the dead back to life. Arcane resurrection is seen as tampering with forces beyond mortal understanding. Resurrection with this method may result in spiritual unrest, divine curses, or destruction of the practitioner. Necromancers attempt to mimic resurrection by reanimation of mortal bodies. This process does not return one's soul to its mortal form and creates undead, an affront to the natural balance. Regardless of the method, pulling a soul back to its mortal form is not an uncommon occurrence within Faerun. Dedicated scribes hope to bring to light the consequences of such actions, for interrupting the natural cosmic order cannot be without consequence. The warrior strides through the singular golden gate, a crest of a staring eye on an upright gauntlet. The immaculate stony floor of the temple stands before a stone plinth. The warrior stops and kneels. Divine essence seems to suffuse the air, and the warrior speaks. A recount of one's experience through death, divine judgment, and rebirth echoes among the chambers, still but for naught of the tale being told. A single emerald green leaf is swept through the temple from the path outside. The simple process of life and death, not so simple. A cosmic order. The mortal condition. Thank you for watching the video. We have more videos planned, so like and subscribe to make sure you watch those when they release. Thanks to our members, DJ, Alberto, and Zeno, who have signed up to our memberships. If you would like to support the channel further, take a look at the links for Patreon and our membership on YouTube. See you all on the next video. And remember, life might not hand us the easiest existence, but we can always strive to a life worth living.